morning, everybody. You can tell you're gonna have to talk soon. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency monthly board meeting. It's September 8th. And we have a quorum. And so we can get started. I think everyone's got a copy of the agenda. Very good. So we have in attendance here, Mayor Bill Collins, Denise Conklin, Lois Robinson, and myself, Judy Calagero. And absent today, at least, well, we know Jane Reed is not going to be able to be here today, and Dr. Cordes and Mary Gooden could show up, and if they do, we'll add them to the agenda.
Mary's right behind us.
Mary Gooden is here now. She's coming in behind me.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Mary.
Hey, Mary.
We're just getting started, Mary.
That's right.
And you are on?
Oh, I'm just, no, okay.
Very good.
She's taking two spaces.
I was hoping that I'd have two places. Oh, I can move. You look beautiful.
Okay. We're also joined by our staff and advisors and consultants, and so thank you all for being here today. I have no chair report. We'll hold that for discussion of our projects. We have the minutes from the July 14th, 2022 meeting. Everyone's had a chance, I think, to review those. Any comments or changes that you'd like to make on those?
None.
There being none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second? Lois and Mayor, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the minutes are passed. The financial report for the months ending August 31st, or is it July?
They're both here July 1st.
Okay, and Mark Toomey is here with us today. John Cordes is with us. Hi, Dr. John. Hello. We just started. Mr. Toomey, would you like to say a few words about the reports?
Yeah, all the idea all we had for either month was just a Fitzgerald bill for $608.
Okay.
That's it. Everything else is the same. The due from CBC is recorded, that was recorded in May.
Have we billed Spring City yet?
No who?
Spring City Development
No.
For the pilot, no.
for the pilot. We probably need to get a bill out to them.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Or we'll do that at closing.
we can't, yeah, we'll do that at closing because we have to still have to do their secret attorney.
Okay, we still don't have that yet.
No,
Okay.
so we're not quite
Ready.
ready yet. for that.
Okay. So we'll have that ready to go when, so
Yeah,
you'll work with Kara
Yeah.
for when that's gonna close and have that ready to go.
Okay, yeah.
Very good. And what's that bill for? Do we know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't prepared it yet.
Okay.
Sorry.
Very good.
You're okay.
Financial reports.
No. Quiet July and August.
Yeah, we like it that way.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a motion to accept both of the financial reports for July 31 and August 31?
I'll make it. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the motion is carried and the financial reports are approved. For current month, we have 3 bills totaling $1,027.06, all to Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth. Is there a motion to accept those bills?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the motion is carried. Bills shall be paid.
You have them with you, Lauren? Good, okay. This is nice.
Okay.
Getting all done right.
That's right.
In terms of other reports, we have been notified that our the accounting firm that has been doing our audit for the last several years is not going to be doing government audits anymore. And so we're relatively close to our year end. And so, we are either gonna put this out to bid and try to engage another accounting firm that could start basically the first week in January, or we're going to go back to the accounting firm and see if they would do, one more year. I don't know if we've had time to have that conversation with them yet, Jeff?
No, we haven't, and I think one of the things we're looking at as far as the, putting out an RFP is, the city is doing the same thing, right? The city of Glens Falls is looking for an auditor. They are issuing an RFP, we are issuing an RFP for that. We were hoping to sort of find a respondent through that process and either approach them or submit a similar RFP ourselves. I have not gone back to Whittemore, we certainly can. I mean, I don't know if there's been any, Mark, have you spoken to them at all? Well, I mean,
Suzanne has, they just are not doing
They're
it
not.
anymore, and they're not finding it financially feasible. It's the reason that we hadn't, had, really any RFPs in a while, because for the last several times we put them out, they were the only, company that, replied, both for us and the city. She is putting it out, and we are hoping that that generates that, so yes.
Can we do a
Piggyback
joint?
on that. We may be, I just have to talk to her to make sure. When Pat and I discussed it, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, one question I would have, for the board maybe, is that, is our situation more or less tenable vis-a-vis an audit than the cities? I mean, do they look at the city and say, oh my God, no way, but, these public authorities, we might be able to do? Or is it as cumbersome for us as it is for the city?
It's not about cumbersome, it's about money that they're making on that kind of audit. There's not much money in it, if I understand what the controller has told me. It's not that they're a cumbersome audit, it's just that there's just not that much money in them.
I think they're
So
time consuming.
They are too as well?
Well, yeah, it's
So-
taking up staff time and.
So I did talk to Suzanne about it, and we're putting out a formal RFP. We're worried that we're not gonna get one, and if so, we're gonna reach out to the state and say, what the heck do we do? So we're definitely putting it out, and we may be including, because that's what we had done in the past, including this as a separate, hey, are you interested in doing this one as well? So I will follow up and make sure, because you're right, your concern is right. We need to put it out. We need to put an RFP out, and if it can be done with Suzanne and all in the same package, great. If it can't, we'll do it
I
separately.
don't see why it couldn't be City of Glens Falls IDA, CDC, LDC, and those.
As a package.
As a package,
Yep.
and you could invite them to bid on one or all.
All right,
I don't think
yeah,
they could structure it that way. There is a company that's doing the EDC audit
cool.
that's up here called Marvin and Company. I'd make sure they're on
Yeah,
the
we're
list.
using
We've done
Marvin and
before.
Company for other things. We use
I thought we
Marvin,
had them before.
We might have.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
did.
so maybe they.
I know they're on her list,
Okay.
because they're also contracted out to help us with our ARPA money, to make sure we have documented all the expenditures correctly for ARPA. So we have interactions with them, and I know that that's going out, so.
I was told that the county had also put out an RFP not too long ago for theirs, and I think they had gotten one proposal back.
I was gonna say, the way that Suzanne's saying is she's fearful because that's why I said, I think a lot of companies are not interested in doing them. It's kind of like a kind of construction. If you're a construction guy and you go, you know what, I'm not building sheds anymore. It's just not worth the money. That's the feeling that I got in the conversation from her, so
I
I
think
promise that
part-
we'll try to address it.
I think part of our problem too, at least for the three public authorities, is our year end is December 31, and our audits need to be done by around March 15th. And so we are taking up time with staff that might otherwise be doing taxes.
Right,
tax returns.
yeah, sure.
So our timing is a little
Is that
not good.
required?
You know,
Is there a way to get around that?
We could change our year end if we wanted to, but we should probably have a more detailed conversation with Whittemore and see if that's also an issue.
Okay.
If they're completely stopping doing audits, but we could do some kind of exit interview with them between yourself and myself
Yeah,
and maybe
and
Suzanne.
Suzanne, sure.
Yeah, and just ask those types of questions and see if there's things that we could be doing different that would, but for now, what I'd like to do is ask the board to approve, this sending out of an RFP, either separately or jointly, and then whatever, you and Suzanne decide to do, we'll get that RFP out in the next
Fantastic.
30
Yeah.
days.
Bill, there isn't, you know, it's too bad there isn't a kind of like startup company, a young company that could use the work and would appreciate
The business, sure.
the business, exactly, to get them started and know.
Yep,
And, you know, it's always nice to give somebody a shot.
sure.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the dilemmas, as the mayor alluded to, was, you know, we're running into this problem with a lot of things, and for instance, our landscapers. You know, we were working on City Hall Park. They simply said, we don't have enough people. And if you can't spread enough people around, we gotta do the ones that are more lucrative. Accountants might be in exactly the same situation. They say, you know, do we do a big corporation or do we do the city hall?
I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
I can also reach out to the other entities that I represent and see who they're trying to
Fantastic.
coordinate with this year too, so.
Yeah, but I think your motion, so it's a motion to put out an RFP either jointly or independently?
Yes.
And I'd like to make that motion.
Oh, great, second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, the motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, project reports and resolutions. I don't think we have any resolutions, but let me run through this. So 88 Ridge Royal is the Queensberry Hotel. They had minor items that needed to continue. Some of them were material items that hadn't arrived yet, like the doors. They just arrived, I think, this week, and they're going in. And then I think that there were some kitchen items. We probably should get an update from them next month, because I think that their deadline is running out in October, maybe, end of October.
Yes.
So let's make sure we want to close that out next month with them if we could. And then, the same with 1525 Park Street, Elizabeth Miller. Now, there's construction going on in that street, and some of it, I think, is related to her building. But her deadline also runs out relatively soon.
In October.
That construction is still going on. That's October also?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think she'll be on schedule. A lot of the construction we're doing is the city doing construction out in the sewers in the street.
And that's done.
It's not related to her?
Much of it is not.
Okay.
She's still working.
Outside.
Yes, she's actually looking for a CO, a certificate of occupancy for the 17th, a week from tomorrow.
September.
It's gonna be partial. The dilemma she's run into is that they have several events that they're catering, including a 600-person event next Friday, along with a wedding. So the kitchen is essentially ready, up and running, not for service, in-house service, but for catering. So we're trying to work with them through the fire department, make sure that the codes are up to snuff, so they can get a temporary CO, so they can operate the kitchen. It looks like she'll have the restaurant and the market open well before the expiration of this. The upstairs may not be. They're still waiting for the elevator, or something wrong with the elevator, or something delayed.
There's parts.
So I've been in the building upstairs. Actually, they have one apartment that was actually not only finished, but furnished. Looked very nice. The others are in various states. So I mean, I don't know at this point that the October 31st date will be a problem for them.
Okay. Very good.
And the major construction was a sewer line that had broken that was 17 feet below the street level, below the water, below the gas,
Wow.
and below, and so it's been fixed.
Good.
And it was major. We actually paid an outside company to come and help us because of that. And
Oh, it is
because of all the
fixed.
dicking around. It is, and the final paving of it is patched. That will we'll have that taken care of so that that's drivable. And then remember, as part of the DRI, $1.2 million of sewage and water separation, storm and sewage separation is part of that Elm Street from Park all the way down to hot shots, right, to our incubator building.
Yep.
So the final redoing of all that pavement won't happen until that, and that's probably next year, right? That engineering has been done, it's been approved by the council, it's there. And so this work, so that she's ready, is all done in the city, and we've even been billed for it, so,
Okay.
yep.
Well, it was negatively impacting my ability to park to get to Rockland. So I'm glad to hear.
Very good.
right.
That's
that,
great.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, very good.
A complaint already.
Yeah, she's not alone. There you go.
Okay, so, Market Square Development, Spring City Development, so we have not had the seeker yet, and I'm
No,
gonna ask,
I think that's
Yeah.
expected early part of October.
Yes.
The planning board,
They-
the 3rd or 4th, I can't remember. the date.
Yeah, they were before the planning board
Okay.
Tuesday, and are looking for that. The expiration is like in a few days, I think. They've gotten responses back from a number of entities, all of whom have declined to take lead agency status, and they're looking for the final planning board approval. And there were no substantial concerns at the planning board meeting Tuesday, so that's expected. The bigger issue, I think, for them is that, as you probably know, Judy, the tax, the HCR tax credit program has not been released yet. So they haven't even made an announcement for the date for that application. They were expecting September 15th, in which case the application would be due by October 31st roughly. It's about 6 weeks normally, but it hasn't even been announced yet. So they're, as I was talking to Libby Carino, she was as, I don't want to say in the dark, but she had no more information than we.
okay, and that's for phase 2, that's
For
not
phase,
for phase 1.
correct. They would plan to begin almost immediately after
On
getting.
phase 1.
On phase 1,
And so phase 1 is through the IDA, I think
Correct.
phase 2 is not,
correct.
at least not at this
That's
time.
correct.
Okay, however, I think the seeker is,
Combined.
So they're
Combined.
just waiting for
Yeah.
that 30 days on the seeker, and then the next planning board would be October.
I think
Fourth.
she, the 3rd or 4th, I
Third
can't
or
remember.
fourth.
Yeah, that
And
first
so
week.
3rd or 4th, that'll be done, and they'll have final
And
approval
then it'll
on
come
that.
back to us for our October meeting.
Yep.
okay, so that's where we are on that. Any other new projects that have come about? Anything-
Well, there are 3 potential projects, 2 I'm not at liberty to discuss yet, at the request of developers or prospective buyers. But one is, Elizabeth Miller, you may or may not know, just recently purchased the building next to Abby Stuckey's on the corner, the old Look TV building, 126 Glen. She, as soon as I found out, she had mentioned that she had just closed on that. And we discussed, possibilities of helping her. The city has has submitted a letter of intent to apply for a Restore New York grant through Empire State Development. For those of you who aren't familiar with Restore, it's probably one of the more lucrative state funding, certainly for businesses and developers, in that it's designed to either demolish and or rehabilitate vacant abandoned buildings. And it's it can be as much as a 90-10 match, meaning that the developer only has to put in 10%. The city has to apply for this. The city is actually the applicant, but it's really a pass-through to the developer. So we're looking for that building. She's actually going to be working with Jim Thatcher on that as well, on the application that we'll have submitted, I think, by October 11th. Jim, is that the deadline for October 11th? She's also, that building qualifies for historic tax credits. So to be totally honest, as I mentioned to her, I said, if you get the tax credits and you get this grant, I'm not sure how much more support the IDA would be obliged to provide. But we'll work it on a case-by-case basis and see how the project sort of pans out.
So we did, well, I don't know if it was the LDC or the city, but we did it for the Peter Hoffman building, the Restore grant.
Correct.
For
The big carriage house, yeah. Warren Street Square was a Restore grant back in, I want to say 2012. And actually, the buildings on South Street, the demolition of the Juice and Jar and OTB, along with the stabilization of the 2 LDC properties were both, that was Restore grant as well.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you need any help with the historic tax credit, I do a little bit with that, I
Okay.
can help her.
Good,
or we
great.
Can help her identify an investor.
Okay.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah, I think I saw that in the paper that she bought that building.
Yeah, she had said she wanted, especially for the parking lot. That building owns almost that entire lot behind the building, with the exception of a couple spaces, that Peter Hoffman owns.
So it's
But-
like 30 cars or something?
Yeah, it's a pretty good lot, but it really is, you're sort of a kingmaker in that block if you own
Yeah.
that one property.
Yeah.
So it's an issue we're gonna have to help because some of the other businesses there, including Rocco's and Abby's, have been sort of using that as a default because it was a vacant building with absentee owners.
Yep.
So they're gonna have to come to some understanding. And she's willing to work with them on that.
And I believe Rocco's brother owns that building that
Correct.
both Abby's
Correct.
and he is in.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other business? Okay. So I don't think we need an executive session, and our next meeting is gonna be October 13th, which is a Thursday at 8 a.m. And we're gonna be meeting here again, at least until the end of the year.
Thank
And,
you.
Save the
Yes, thank
you.
staff at City Hall from us being in the hallway.
This
So-
isn't as nice as the mayor's conference.
We don't get to see all the mayor's
That's
faces.
right, that's right.
We could have a picture brought over.
That's right. Well, I just got a new one of Mayor Hall to hang, so we'll put it here until then. How's that?
That's funny.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor?
Great,
turn it over to
yes,
you.
so,
We get out
next,
of bed to be here at 8 o'clock for this?
oh, there you go.
I do.
I hope you got out of bed before 8 o'clock.
Easy's
5
good.
o'clock, it's like,
So next up is the Glens Falls Local Development Corporation meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. We have Judy, Denise, Dr. John, Mary Gooden, and Jane Reed is absent today, and Lois is here. Thank you. We'll welcome our key staff and advisors, and I believe we have some YouTube viewers, so that's great. The chair report, first up, I think many of you have seen, the city has 2 murals currently being painted. Or I should say the LDC has 2 murals being painted. And although I don't know that's well recognized, right? And matter of fact, they kind of think that I'm painting them, so that's okay.
Wow.
So the one by Domino's Pizza is done, and the artist has gone home, and that's fantastic. Now people are a lot more positive. There was some panic and mayhem with the doodle grid that the artist used, and patience is a virtue, right? And now at least 90% of the comments are all, geez, that's awesome. But it was a little rough there for a while. I had a couple media interviews that were quite funny, thinking I was just going to go down and tear paintbrushes out of hands and stop the whole thing. I don't know if anybody has any questions. The second one is
I have one
sure.
question on that.
Yep.
I'm a member of the church next door here, and now they're thinking about doing some artwork on the side of their garage over here.
Okay.
So I think you may see more of this.
Yes, well,
Contagious?
there are others too, so Eric Unkoff from his buildings has one and plan to do another, and one in progress, and another that he's planning, and he has a whole view of, he shared with me, he's purchased some other property on that block over by the t-shirt factory, and I think wants to do 4 or 5 more, and it would like to help finding some grant money for this called a mural garden, and has brought to me another city that had done stuff and how it helped revitalize some neighborhoods. So the only requirement for the church or anybody else to do something like this is to go in front of the planning board, and
They have to approve.
they
the
do.
design.
It's
Okay.
a sign, and in this case, we're thinking of that. We want to make sure that they're using the right material, that they're going to maintain it, and that's what it's about. It's not about a review of just so you all know, about the artwork itself, right? We want to make sure it's like you would with a sign. You want to make sure it's not vulgar or inappropriate, but other than that, you're staying out of the art critic business. You're, go ahead.
But related to that is, the church also had a problem where someone came and damaged some of their statues.
They did.
And so, I don't know if we're requiring it, but I'm thinking that we should require that they put some type of finish on top of the paint, so that if someone does come by and tries to damage it, I believe that
That is a requirement.
It is a
That's
re-
the Arts District,
required.
I don't know if it's in the contract specifically or not, but I know that the discussions with the artist had said that it has to have an anti-graffiti coating, or the
Coating.
paint has to be mixed as such that it won't accept.
you-
I'm not sure which it is. I
And
can
could
check.
you make sure that they're requiring both of them, because since this was on the same corridor and there was a problem, I would love to make sure that the city doesn't end up with graffiti on this.
Sure.
that-
Well, in the Arts District, the Arts District members are required to maintain it for 5 years.
Okay,
So
Because
if
you don't
there's
want
an issue, they're the
deterioration.
ones, theoretically, I mean, in practical terms, they're the ones that are responsible for cleaning it up and
if there
restoring
is,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
And then, I was told by, one of the artists that the Arts District or our contracts did not cover the cost of the equipment that they had to rent, to the lifts, to get up to the building, and I just wanted to see if we could look into that, and if we had any more resources, could we cover the cost of those lifts?
Yeah, I don't think
Because
it's-
they had to
Judy,
pay.
I don't
I
think-
wouldn't believe that, Judy.
That's-
I think those artists gave us a price and it included all their, now whether they didn't know what they would need or made some change, they made a proposal, they had to make a proposal that was reviewed, and it was to cover their supplies, the equipment, their time, everything. So if, again, we can find out, but I just wouldn't believe what you're hearing.
If it didn't, is there a chance that the city has one that they can borrow?
Well, they're almost
Actually,
done.
no.
Well, one's done and
Yeah,
one's
but-
almost
No.
done, yeah.
And there
No,
certainly
but
is.
any future ones, since
Oh.
we're talking
No,
about.
we have a very limited equipment in that case. We have a cherry picker that we use to trim trees,
Yeah.
and it's limited in its capacity. It's nothing of the capabilities of those true lifts that they're using. Those are all rented by ABC, and so Glens Falls, when they were making all sorts of cuts to DPW, we don't have that kind of equipment. We contract out even large trees every year to a tree company. We don't do major. We used to have so much more than we have now, both in equipment and staff.
That'll help too.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we cut 2 full-time city cement crews years ago. We did all our own sidewalks. We do none of them now. We don't have the manpower. We cut 60% of the DPW workforce at one time, about 10 years ago.
Well,
So-
I think the results have been great.
Oh, I do
And
too.
you've got a lot of people walking by and looking at it, and it's getting a lot of
Fantastic.
attention. I think it's been really
Yes,
good.
and
It
it's
is.
not all negative.
No, it's not.
I've heard a lot
The
of
loudest
positive.
are always the negative, but no, there's a lot of great stuff, and we would help in some way. I just remember that whole process. We used Jim Thatcher to help the Arts District to come up with an entire process that artist could say, this is what I could do, and this is how much it would, and that whole bid process. So I don't know that there's anything separate like hanging around, right? Because so if somebody came to us at the end and said, I need another $500 for a lift or $1,000 a lift, I don't believe that those requests were made, right? Oh, sorry, Jim, I didn't see you there. How are you?
He's hiding.
I agree with what the mayor's saying. We ask for all-in proposals, profit, labor, materials.
Maybe it's at the Arts District level, but the woman down here, her lift was not covered.
And she probably didn't put in an appropriate quote.
Okay.
And if she came to us and said something, we could try to find something somewhere. But remember, to help make this point, the second one is being built, and it's going well. I hope all of you've seen it around from Moran's Dive Center. It faces our fountain that needs to be redone, and St. Mary's, right, and here on Warren Street. And that's the second one. There was a third one proposed for a building down further on Warren Street, which was denied by Empire State Development for being outside of the IDA,
DRI.
DRI, even though it was in the arts district, it wasn't within the DRI thing. And so, that is all on hold because I do have, the city has some ARPA money that we could use, but I have to get the council to approve it. We have a whole bunch of projects that I'm trying to get in front of the council, and I couldn't do it right away so that it could be done before, like now, right? They wanted everything. Remember, they were really in a hurry. They were worried about running out of daylight and sunshine. So that's on hold, that particular one. And a third one to finish this report is been moved to the Glen Street, the alleyway between Spot Coffee and Wood Theater. And so that's where the third one that will come out of these LDC DRI funds.
And do they have time to do that this year? or
They're
is it-
working on it. They're trying, absolutely.
they're
I
starting.
think they're ready to put paint on walls.
Wow,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, the plan is, that's the plan.
Is that the same, is that a new design or is that the same one that we had approved for
It
them?
was a
think-
separate, it was a separate call to artists.
Yeah.
So the.
Oh, that's where it is right now. It's
Yeah,
at the call.
The
Thank you.
concept is that the artist who designed this one will be able to figure out some way to pay for it. As the mayor had said, he's in conversations about that now. So this is actually,
A different
it's a
one.
third DRI project, but it technically will be a fourth project.
Gotcha.
So it'll have a new design.
In a different artist?
Correct, yes.
Nice.
Yes, and the Wood Theater, if my memory serves me correctly, the Wood Theater asked for something that was more historical in nature.
Okay.
So, for that core of the downtown core, so, rather than wolves and bullies.
Okay.
Correct, and there is a DRI budget for that Wood Theater mural. SHPO's approved, has no problem with the wall, and it's been set up with HCR. You know, it's been siloed with HCR. We need the artist proposals to review and then a contract.
And the Wood Theater board is stacked.
Can we see the design or can you send it or?
As soon as we have it, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have anything right now. As I said, I don't even know that the call to artists is closed yet.
I heard end of August, I don't, then the arts district gets together and does their thing.
So, yes, when they decide on the piece, we'll.
We're ahead of
send
them
it
for a
out.
change instead of pushing us.
Right.
It's only taken a couple of years, right? Any other questions about murals?
No.
Thank you, guys.
Did you
So,
wanna- I'm sorry.
Sure.
Mayor, do you wanna just mention that the reimbursement process is happening and that we're gonna do that next month?
sure, I assume that you all know that in those contracts, so we give them a deposit, and then when the work's done, and then we get billed out, we bill it out and we get the money in, then we cut the final check to them. So they get 50% at the time of the painting.
Yes, right, 50%
Before.
before they start.
50%. There we go. Any other questions? So other report, other DRI things, New York State Parks and Rec Historic Preservation is meeting today to hopefully incorporate the 36 Elm Street building into the Three Squares Historic District.
Nice.
And Jeff will be at that meeting speaking on our behalf about the building.
Yeah, Dan Bagwell, who's the agent, representative, whatever, for the State Historic Preservation Office, had said that we could say a few words. It sounds like it's a sort of a procedural process, but I will get on and just say a couple of things about how it incorporates into the larger project. I don't anticipate any issues.
And Pat has copies of those letters from Parks, if anybody would like to review them, we have them. So we expect that to pass. As we discussed, the Glens Falls Planning Board has notified the LDC chair and the CEO that they had received the application from Spring City to renovate those buildings on South and Elm. That would be the Hot Shots, the Sandy's, and the Incubator building. And the seeker process that the planning board is seeking to be the lead agents, and we're waiting for that date to come, the 30 days to come, and then hopefully we'll have it on our agenda in October. We'll be reviewing the proposed contract for the resolution today regarding the properties, our properties that the LDC owns on South and Elm Streets. That's in your packet. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. That's my report. Anybody have any questions about the report? So if not, we'll go on to the next, is the administrative reports, approvals and resolutions. In your packets, you received the committee meetings. We had no, you don't have one because we had no committee meetings since we last met. So the minutes, though, on July 14th are in your packets. Any discussions or questions? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 14th?
Judy makes a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And so, and we have in our packets the financial reports from Mark for July and August. Any discussions or questions about Mark's financial reports? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept these July and August 22 financial reports?
Make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And payment of bills in Schedule A in your packet is the payment of the bills. Any questions? There's one to Fitzgerald, Morris, Baker and Firth, or two actually. Account temps, which is for the bookkeeping, and First Insurance funding. The September installment is due. And regarding the DRI, they got the CT mail.
So moved to pay the bills as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving, I don't think we have any other reports, so moving on, project reports.
Mayor, I would just do the same approval that we did in the IDA to release an RFP together with the city or separately on the audit.
Absolutely, thank you.
So I'll make the motion that, that the Local Development Corporation work jointly with the IDA, the CDC, and the city of Glens Falls to either issue an RFP jointly or separately to engage an audit firm to do our audits for the 2022 fiscal year and beyond.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, under DRI, so project reports and resolutions. So Jeff, you want to give us an update on the DRI?
And there's nothing really beyond what we've already been talking about. You just mentioned the tax credit, the proposed preservation meeting today. Of course, as you mentioned, they've gone to the planning board and looking for approval next meeting. We're also somewhat unrelated to this board, but not entirely. As far as the market center itself, the city event center, we're finalizing designs and looking to get on the planning board as well for that October meeting. So I don't think, we're trying to sort of coordinate the development of that project simultaneously with phase one. Obviously, as you know, phase two is sort of at the mercy of outside forces, but I think we can do that partly to coordinate the relocation of the farmers market itself. Right? We want to make sure that there's no disruption there. So we're hoping to get that on the agenda for next month.
Is the DRI money for those projects flowing through the LDC or directly through the city?
The DRI money's for the...
For either of those projects, phase two or, well, phase two is not getting any DRI?
No, once the LDC disposes of these two properties, I believe your exposure to the DRI is included with the exception of the projects going through HCR. meaning the
So the market center, the DRI money for the market center won't flow through the LDC?
No. I don't know why.
It wasn't designed that way.
It wasn't?
Not that we knew.
No.
Okay.
No, I think the only DRI money that's directly related to the LDC is the HCR money, and I'm guessing that Ed did that simply because, or it was set up that way, simply because HCR and the LDC had.
And we control those properties too, okay.
To Jeff's point, and we mentioned before that the Spring City's in front of the planning board a few times. There doesn't seem to be. I think there's broad general support for the phase one and for these properties to be developed. Main concerns have really little to do with phase one. It has to do with the market center itself. It was the farmers market folks have been most scared because I hadn't communicated with them since they were heavily involved with the subcommittee at the beginning, and probably about a year ago I don't want to say purposely shut them out, but I certainly, we needed to move forward working with an engineer or with the architects and move the project forward, and we did. And so we're setting up some series of meetings in September before either of these projects actually get final approval in the planning board. So we're thinking that October planning board is going to be a great meeting because both Spring City will be ready for its final approval, and we're going to be in front with the market center as well. So I met with the farmers market folks last night. It was a difficult meeting. They're struggling with the fact that this center needs to be more than a market, year-round farmers market, and it's a big struggle. We've used language like year-round farmers market from day one, and yet from day one there was only $2.5 million of DRMI money originally for this building, that as it was originally designed was before COVID hit was a $4 million building. So I don't know where the other $1.5 million was going to come from, but at one point that became a $6 million building, and then we went back and said no, we need to use this for other things. It needs to be an entertainment space, it needs to be used by the whole community. We can't justify these things for just 4 hours a week. And they last night was my first formal meeting with them to explain how we want them to be part of this. We do, but this needs to be a community event space as well. And there was a lot of angst. There's a lot of concern. They want guarantee that every Saturday that they're going to be there, and I said I couldn't guarantee that. I said that we'd find a way to work with them. I wanted to. They were happy about a lot of things that we said, like they can drive up and drop off. We've made it so it's accessible, but it is a big change for them, right? They've had unlimited access to that entire parking lot, not just the pavilion, but to drive their vehicles up and park all weekend long, to have people all throughout that entire parking lot. And we can't have people driving in and parking all day in this $5 million space. We will do everything we can to work with them. So it was a tough meeting, but it was a good meeting. It needed to be said, and so we're going to continue to meet with them. We'll meet with them. We're going to meet with them on Wednesday. Anybody got a calendar? I think it's the 26th or the 27th of September. We're going to meet with them separately in the mayor's conference room, so they can follow up. I've now laid out, I've shared with them the plans, what it looks like, how it could be set up, what our thinkings are, what our limitations are, and they're going to come back and now be able to talk to me about it.
Well, Mayor, several of us here were involved in those early meetings, and while maybe they stopped meeting 6 months ago or something,
Yeah.
The same thing has been said at those meetings for the last 2 years.
No, they haven't heard. It was kind of shocking to me, Judy.
It's been from the beginning, from the very beginning.
That's right, yes.
It was said. I was at those meetings. Jeff was at those meetings. You just said, what you said is the exact same thing that's been said all along.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for
and
reminding me.
it's been reported in the paper. It was made clear that
And we
this
invited
was,
the public.
Yeah, and the public was there, and they always had somebody at those meetings, at least one person, sometimes
know.
more. So nothing that you just said is it's all been said before.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
but
thank you.
I-
It's,
Are they, is
I
that
don't know
gonna
how
use
you can have a building that's only open 4 hours a week. It
Running
doesn't
Yeah.
work.
for
Well,
millions of dollars.
Yeah,
Has any talk been done about having a flea market in there also? Letting them come in and
I,
use it?
Well,
yeah, I
we
mean,
had a
that's
whole
the whole
list,
thing,
yeah.
right, Lois? It's about that, it's about other events and what
Right.
can we do?
Yeah, the entertainment thing I thought was
Yeah.
great. I thought it was
When
a
I
great idea.
suggested that they might want to actually have Sundays as well,
Yeah.
they actually snapped at me. Like, we can't work 24/7, we'd have never a day off. And I was kind of shocked. And then they were also asking about the rent. They currently pay $1,000 to the city a year to use that entire parking lot. And I said, I'm not looking to raise your rent. That $1,000 isn't enough to pay for the cleaning that happens in a facility. Never mind. It's not something we're making money off of, and I'm not looking to raise that. We want to welcome you, but we need to be able to use this building for other events. And so I just thought you'd like the idea of doing Saturday and Sunday, but they clearly, some of them weren't. It was tough. And thank you for saying.
And related to Lois's comment, this issue came up before, and I was going through my records recently, and I have a 2-page list that Amy Collins put together of potential uses of the space.
Yeah.
And I can get it to you, or
Yeah.
a copy of it for you if you'd like. But that,
I
she
think
went
it's been
through
said.
and she
You're
did
right.
that.
No, I haven't. Matter of fact, that's what we're actually meeting and starting to talk about this, and they've got notice, right? Bonaccio explained to them. Sorry, Bonaccio. Kara, not Kara. Libby.
You're not that
I'm
old.
Bill.
You're not that old.
Libby explained to them that they, and Sonny Bonaccio himself at the public meeting that we had a month and a half ago, said that they are hoping to, that phase 2 isn't gonna happen, and that they would take that they want to make that home for them next year while we're building this market center. And you're right, we talked about all these, we've been having many meetings, we said it again and again, but it's clear that they aren't hearing. So now when I said this to them, there was some anger and some resentment, some trepidation. They're fearful. Some people were in tears. And some people were very happy too. Some said that they were appreciative of my frankness, but they clearly weren't hearing it. And then at the end, they kept to help people who had anxiety. One of the organizer, one of the leaders said, this is still in design phase and it might all change. And I had to interrupt him. I said, no, it's not.
No.
This building is happening.
Right.
I'm sharing with you the actual diagrams so that you can look and tell us how you'd like to use the facility. And then they said, one of them said, and it's not even year round, we're not even gonna, and I said, it is. It's heated.
Yes.
And it's not gonna be 80 degrees in there, but if any of you went to the Kris Kringle market, and I said, it'll be at least as warm as those tents were, and the woman said, I vented at those, they were fine. I said, thank you, we are heating this. I mean, but
And you're not paying for it.
no, but there's some, we've left them alone so long, and I really do, they feel, they've been displaced, they feel left out. I know it's not the truth, but it is how they feel. And so we're having a meeting, so now they have the diagrams. They have them to play with and to look at and to consider and tell me what their the biggest concern is. They want a guarantee that they can have every Saturday uninterrupted. And I said, I'm not gonna be dishonest. I don't know that yet. I will try. I will find a place for you. If there's an event happening all weekend in the city and in that place, maybe we could have you out on South and Elm. And they were extremely unhappy with that. So that's where we're ended. We're going to meet with them again on Wednesday, September 26th. I think it's the 26th. Anybody?
Wednesday's the
28th, sorry. Thursday, the 29th, we're going to have a public meeting about this We're trying to get the Queensberry Hotel, we're talking to them about, in an evening meeting, kind of like we did for the whole DRI project. And then on Friday morning, the 30th, we're gonna have another one at, say, 10 a.m., the exact same meeting for those people who couldn't make it in the evening.
Well, Mayor, maybe we can put together a list for you of all the meetings we have had, because, well, maybe there hasn't been in the last, since the Venatio meeting, there were a lot of them.
That's right.
There was a lot.
There were a lot of meetings, we were at the library where, and they were always there, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one issue that, and this had come up at the planning board meeting and a conversation I had afterwards. You know, there were some people who were under the impression that, you know, the $10 million DRI was for this building.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
and I said, well, you know, there was a whole slew of projects that, you know, they had the what do they call them, the charrettes, you know, went down to the Civic Center and where you put, you know, we chose projects, everybody in the city voted on different projects. But I mean, there was so I mean, I think there's just a lot of misunderstandings about what, you know, and some of them thought, well, and it was presented $10 million for a year-round farmer's market, and that was why you got the money.
Yeah.
And now that it's not, you basically sort of used us, right, as the way to get the money, and now we're getting some aside, now what you got.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, you have to sort of deconstruct the past in order to get them to where,
Yeah.
you know.
They
from there to
said very similar things last night, that they were, now that we're doing this, what if they don't move into the Elm Street building? And I said, we're building this building. And I said, they said, you won't get the grant money because the farmer's market won't be in there. And I said, well, there will be a farmer's market in there, and I hope it's you. Right, but I appreciate it, but the state would not allow us to spend $5 million or $4.5 million on a building that was gonna be used 4 hours a week. Nobody would find that acceptable. And, so that's where we are. It was one of my tougher, 45 minutes, but I think it is, and it's actually good though. It's out now, and they've got a copy of the designs, and they can tell us what they have. We'll continue to meet with them, and I wanted you all to be aware because you're members of this community too, and they're very they feel very neglected in this, and so that's where we are. Let's see, so how about the next report, Small Business Recovery Fund, from Pat or Jim?
Yeah, you wanna take it on?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do it and Jim will correct me if I'm wrong. The state, we finally got through all the paperwork with the state for this fund. We have one business that's looking to expand their food offerings. Basically, it's a restaurant, which we expect to have before you next month, to let you know what it is and what the project is. And then we're hoping to be able to very quickly spend the other $380,000 very soon. So we're very happy to be able to be giving away more money.
Great,
That would be nice.
that would be.
Be great.
I mean, to be supporting more local businesses.
Right.
Giving away, yeah, there you go. So now, in front of you, I want you to look, if you would, take a moment and look at the contract for you to review. It was in your packet. We believe this is the contract that will go, and if there's any changes that anybody would like to make, thoughts they have regarding the contract. Nothing's changed since our agreements. The two properties that the LDC owns and is selling is the Hot Shots building and the incubator building. And the total of the two buildings, the full assessed price value of those buildings is $395,000. And that is what this contract is for. Includes a deposit and then the final check at the time of closing.
And Mayor, just for purposes of the record, the proposed resolution that's included in the packet also indicates that the LDC has complied with the property disposition policy and the public authorities Accountability Act with respect to the 90-day notice that was set on April 1st, so that 90-day time frame is passed. The resolution also authorizes the chair to execute not only the contract, but all the closing documents that'll be required when we transfer the property to Spring City Development. The contract was previously circulated, and we had made some modifications that we had asked Spring City to cover the LDC's expenses with respect to transfer tax payable to New York State and legal fees that are incurred, and they've agreed to do both of those, so those changes are incorporated into the agreement. But other than that, the agreement wasn't modified from what was previously circulated.
Thank you.
Other than there were some minor typographical errors.
Thank God for spell check.
Well, or copy editors.
Yeah.
Yeah, people know how to spell.
If anybody has any questions,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Second one, to ask if there are any concerns or questions about the language in the resolution authorizing the sale. Let's see, Kara, I don't think, is there anything that we should make particular note of it?
No, the same terms that I just went over are included into that resolution that incorporates the execution of the deed when that is ready and we get to that closing point. So this will not come back before the LDC, this project, unless there's some change that requires it to come back to the LDC. So once the resolution is adopted today, then any other actions have already been approved. So to sign the deed, to attend the closing, that type of thing has already been approved with today's resolution. The project will come back to the IDA for purposes of seeker and final approval on that, once the planning board issues its determination.
Do you want a separate resolution approving the sale, or?
It's just the one resolution that I
It's already
prepared,
did?
so,
Okay, it's
yeah.
already in there.
Mhm. It's all in one.
Good.
So I think you're set if the intent was to adopt the
The
resolution in
that
the
you
packet.
presented, yep,
Yeah.
with your changes, yes. That's what I intended, sorry if I didn't say that.
That's great. So is it a separate resolution?
No, you can just
I
do it as
apologize.
one.
There you go.
Just one.
All right.
You wanted me to redo that, Mayor, or we already
Please,
did?
I think you should just,
I'll just to confirm, so I'm making a motion to approve the resolution as presented by our attorney with those changes, to approve the sale of the two properties controlled by the LDC.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I believe that is the end of my work here. Request the board approval for the RFP or RFQ for Newton Language Accounting. We've already done it. I don't believe we need to go into executive session. And if not hearing any need, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
9 o'clock, all right.